Hello and very good evening to all our members, viewers, subscribers of India SME Forum, and all our esteemed panelists who have joined us today for this last and third webisode, transformation series for creating sustainable enterprises. Our today's topic is digital enablement and challenges and opportunities while digitally for MSMEs. We all, since more than 8 months now, we have faced business shutdown, slowing of business during the COVID lockdown and all the after effects of COVID. The economy, the MSME economy, is still limping back to normalcy, while many businesses are still facing shutdown and they do not have any consumer demand, and they are still trying to reorient and rejuvenate their businesses. While facing these problems, e-commerce behavior for many MSME businesses. In last two sessions of the digital transformation series, we talked about onboarding, integrating payments, and today we are going to talk about challenges and opportunities, because though we say that e-commerce is an answer for taking our businesses online, uh, there are definitely many challenges that MSMEs face. So we have our gathering here today, who's going to touch upon these points and also give us certain answers on how they have taken their businesses online, and how their portals can serve as opportunity for many businesses which are looking for answers. So, I'm Sushma Morthania, Director General, India SME Forum. Take the pleasure of welcoming Shri Ajit Balakrishnan, founder Rediff.com, Shri Avnish Anand, co-founder and head of online business Carrot Lane, Shri Prashant Chauhan, business head First Cry, Shri Anand Biswas, Director SME Business Delivery, and of course, our favorite and beloved President, Mr. Vinod Kumar, President India SME Forum. I say favorite and beloved because he has very, very loyal subscribers and viewers who look forward to the session moderated by him. So I'm sure you all are about to know why, because the kind of questions he starts posing at all the panelists, I mean, it's a delight to listen to these sessions. So over to you, Vinod sir.
Thank you very much, Ajay, and good afternoon, gentlemen. I think Prashant, you are in Bombay, or are you in Malaysia or Philippines?
I'm in Pune right now.
Oh, you're in Pune right now, so you're closer to India. Excellent.
Yeah.
And, so, my good evening to everybody. It is a pleasure to be again here in the company of Ajit. Sorry, to be in the company of Ajit and be guided by him as to the topic that we have today, which is again when we're talking about digital enablement of MSMEs, the challenges and the opportunities that we have. Let me share something that we've been doing in the last 3 or 4 weeks. We have tried to enable a group of women, primarily who were either doing the business. We shortlisted this group from among a sizable membership that we have of women, so that we could sort of support them and accelerate them, and primarily with e-commerce, as to how they can use e-commerce and how can they digitally enable their businesses. Moving to digital economy and availing with pandemic. So with this today, we are all talking about there's a consistently high growth when it comes to e-commerce, especially in global economies. And e-commerce has been taking a much bigger position when it comes to trade. So when we look at trade, trade between international has grown and not also. Now, so when we talk about the Indian economy and we say we are fairly new to e-commerce when it comes to, when we look at the economy, and what we see is you have quite a few companies which are, e-commerce, space. And at the same time, what we find is there's
Sir,
loads
let
and
me
loads of
interrupt you. I think, Vinod sir, let me interrupt you. I think your line is not very clear. I'm not sure if I am not able to hear. Kindly just give me a heads up if there's a problem in Vinod Kumar's sir's line. I think
It's
the audio
breaking. It's
is
breaking.
breaking in.
Yeah.
Yes, your audio is breaking a little bit.
Okay, I'll try to be a little slow so that the audio catches up with the video wherever it is not working. I don't know what happened today. Whenever we have these webinars, till that time I can work I like with the bandwidth, but whenever we have these webinars, it sort of goes down for whatever reason. But anyway, so continuing what I was talking about, e-commerce and enabling our economies through e-commerce. The idea is that economies around the world have looked at e-commerce as a very, very big enabler, especially for those that are in rural areas, especially those that are in tier 2, tier 3 cities. For them, the connect to global value chains, the connect to global international networks has been amazing, and which was never possible before that. So I'd like to start with Ajit ji. When we are talking about this global integration into value chains around the world, and we are looking at exports primarily, how do you feel? What role do you feel e-commerce has to play? And what do you think the opportunities are, Ajit ji?
I want to, can you hear me clearly? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I want to, as a first step, decode the word e-commerce into what its constituent parts are. So I had just one slide to share, and if you bear with me, I'll share just one slide, and I want to walk you through this. Can you see my slide? Hello?
Not
Can you see the slide? Yeah?
Not yet, Ajit. Not yet.
Okay, then let me do something. Share screen. Okay. Now can you see my slide? Hello?
No, for a reason we can't see it.
For some, oh God, I'll try once more and then I'll just speak. Okay. Now, any chance? No.
No, we can't still see it.
Okay, not to worry. I want to, there are what we call e-commerce is actually 3 different movements underway. You can hear me now, right? Isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, the first movement is dematerialization. That means print, paper, plastic, film move to digital, dematerialization. That is one element of the so-called e-commerce movement. And consequently, things like music shops, newspapers, magazines, cinema theaters, all are challenged. They tend to close down. Okay, and we call this one element of e-commerce. The second element of e-commerce is disintermediation. That means the distribution chain, instead of having 5 different layers from China to Delhi, from Delhi to Bombay, Bombay to small shops, etc. And this disintermediation, smaller layers in the distribution chain makes commissions, saves commissions on intermediaries, makes product services more affordable, but it's a very challenging time for wholesalers, distributors, sales agents, etc. And this is underway in particularly in services, insurance, share broking. As they're seeing all this thing, and the final piece is disaggregation, where one big bank is now being split into payment services, lending services, deposit taking services, cash disbursement, etc. Now it saves on bundling charges, makes services more affordable, but it really means existing vertical banks are all destined to collapse and be replaced by vertical. So what we think of as e-commerce is dematerialization, disintermediation, and disaggregation, and this is really what is underway throughout the world. So let's kind of keep this in mind when we think in terms of what is e-commerce. So depending on the business that you are in, okay. So I think it just did I make any sense? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it's really okay. So yeah. So I think this is each business, small or big, it needs to see how do you deal with this reality and quickly move along one of these three steps. And there is otherwise life looks very mysterious. Actually, that it is. Yeah, you're clear about the time. So I think you have to ask yourself in which of these things are you. I think digitization is what we are seeing everywhere massively.
Absolutely.
So I think So I think digitization, disintermediation, and disaggregation is a challenge, and how to deal with it is going to be the real issues of. Okay, yeah.
So
I
Ajit,
thought I'd start
how do
off
you
by.
feel this is going to help, the sort of opportunity that is existing in the markets around the world when it comes to exports from India or exports from even those areas that are not on the map today, or don't see a lot of traction from direct customers around the world, or even through intermediaries or merchant exporters. What do you feel? This is how can this enable exports specifically from India? Not talking about the other economies which have had great experiences.
If you're an exporter from India and a primary producer of, for example, diamonds, okay. Now, earlier you had to go through a value chain which probably started from Antwerp and going, I don't know enough about diamonds, into multiple places. Now, you can now make sure that either your end retailer or end consumer can directly consume from you in India. So you will disintermediate all, if you're an exporter, you disintermediate all those guys who step by step took margins away from you before you reach the consumer. So you look to disintermediate. That's the idea. Yeah?
Excellent. I go on, Avnish. I have this question carry forward to Avnish. Avnish has seen lateral growth when it comes to expanding into the hinterland, having customers in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and making stuff everywhere around the country. So how do you find this entire e-commerce dragnet that you went on to, that you came on to, has expanded today? Now that you are, I think, owned by the Tatas. The Carrot Lane is now a part of the Tata ecosystem. So how was the experience, and how did you first of all start, and then going on to the e-commerce bandwagon? Where do you think you are getting the traction from? Is it only major cities that most of us generally talk about when it comes to e-commerce, or yes, it is retired aspirational people also?
Hi Vinod, and first thank you for having me here. So actually, we started as an e-commerce company, So way back in 2008 when we started as a digital first company. So our journey has been slightly different in that sense that we first started on the internet and then we opened stores and we started try at home and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we have also seen how the whole e-commerce thing has evolved in this country, right? Because when we started at that point in time, there was no Flipkart also, right? We saw how Flipkart also came into being while we were going through our own journey. And I think I just want to add to what Ajit said, and that's a great point, right? How you decouple it into three parts, what he mentioned. And even outside e-commerce, there is a great example, from the Middle East. Like, all these Arabic countries had been making a lot of money, right, with petroleum resources which they had, which they were exporting for the longest time, right? But they were always dependent on, the Western world who were actually doing the refining and exploration and everything. And they were also dependent on the global crude prices. And in the middle of all of this, Kuwait broke away from the regular path and they invested in refineries in the Western world. They invested in petrol pumps in the Western world, which helped them in such a big way because one, they actually got closer to the customer. They controlled the whole value chain. They made better margins, right? Because the margins on the final product was much higher than just selling the crude. Their dependency on the global crude rate reduced in a big way. And they actually were able to make far more money and being less dependent on the fluctuations and of the global crude prices. And I think this is a great lesson for everybody who's into the export business or wants to get into the export business in this country. And when I talk about the jewelry industry per se, right, I don't know if many of you know, right, we obviously are the largest diamond producer in the world, right? We don't mine the diamonds, but as far as cutting and polishing is concerned, we are the biggest player in the world, right? With more than half the business coming out of India. In addition to that, all the great brands which you can think of globally, right? Each and every brand, whether it is Harry Winston or Cartier or Tiffany's or everything, a lot of that is manufactured in India, right? And this is very high-end manufacturing work because it's not like making a T-shirt, right, in Japan or in any of the sweatshops in any part of the world. This is really high-quality work. So we have that great capability, right, to make really great products. But we don't have any Indian brand, right, which is a global brand, right, as far as jewelry is concerned. Like the French have their wines and the Italians have the fashion and the automobiles. We haven't made our mark over there. And if you ask me that what is the big opportunity for e-commerce globally first, then I think those are the opportunities to really take our manufacturing capability and our product building capability and to go all the way across the value chain. And, we have just started building our own international business. And I can't tell you how great the traction is. Like even with the custom duties and the extra delivery charges, people just want Indian jewelry because nobody makes jewelry like we do. And there are, I'm sure, lots of other opportunities like that, which Indian exporters, Indian manufacturers can take to the whole world. And there's a lot of margin and a lot of money and a lot of scale which is available. And the easiest way to do that is through e-commerce. So like while we have a lot of stores in India for our India business, we don't have anything like that for international businesses. But it's very easy to get that business started. It does not take a lot of capex. It does not take a lot of money. You don't need a lot of investment in inventory. You can just start through the e-commerce route and you can get your business going. And I think that for SMEs who are in any of these categories, if they make great products, I think that's the big opportunity globally. Now, if you ask me about India, I'll tell you that, for the longest time, we had this impression that there is this internet savvy customer, the 30 to 45-year-old who's the one who's going to buy jewelry or any of these categories. We have seen that myth shattered completely. A lot of our customers are, women who are above 60 years of age also, who browse on Facebook using a smartphone, because a lot has changed in this country, right? We have high-speed internet connectivity, which is available for everybody. That's been democratized completely, right? So the customer is out there. These people have a lot of money and they are willing to spend. And we see this happening in tier 3 and tier 4 towns also. In fact, in the COVID period, we have seen more growth coming from smaller towns where we don't have stores also, as compared to the bigger towns where we have, lots of stores and you have the full-fledged channels in place. but all that growth is coming from the smaller towns. So I think e-commerce allows you to reach everybody, right? The part we spoke about, right? The disintermediation part, where you can reach anybody without having anything required. So that's like the big win. And I think every small guy who's even got 10 products in his catalog can reach customers, whether it's in the small town in this country or whether it's somebody sitting in Canada. There is a demand. He just needs to figure out what is going to sell. And I think that's like really the opportunity with, and if it's happening during the COVID times, I'm sure that when times get better and things are definitely looking up, that it's only going to get better for the small guys. And I see a lot of people already listing on, Amazon.com and selling jewelry in the US, for example. So there is a way out. It's just that it requires a different approach, and e-commerce obviously makes things easier. And if you were to ask me that what is the way out or what is the way forward, then I would suggest that those are the real opportunities. And we are seeing that. And we are seeing a lot of small people also get into it and build decent, meaningful businesses. Sorry, Vinod, you are on mute.
Thank you very much, Avnish, for that. I was just trying to talk about the fact that, there was a time when people used to say, e-commerce cannot go very far. People are never going to buy jewelry online because they have to feel it, they have to see it. The same goes for clothes. The same goes for almost everything. But today, this COVID has actually, brought in a different era altogether where most people did not have a choice but to actually go to the e-commerce way. And I think that it's a blessing in disguise for most of the small, medium enterprises. I have Prashant here. Prashant has been a veteran in the B2B space and now in B2C. So I'd like to ask Prashant, what have you learned over the past so many days about the possibilities? You work internationally today, accessing, across Asian markets, and looking after business in multiple domains. So what is your feeling about how is e-commerce going, and what sort of opportunities lie there? We will talk about the challenges also in the future, but let's first get an idea about, you are in the garment space also, toy space also, multiple domains across. So what is your experience? And you deal with a lot of suppliers from India.
Yeah. So thanks everyone. And yes, these are uncertain times. These were uncertain times, and lot of businesses, even we were not prepared for something like this. But as you rightly said, that the country and the people and the consumers needed that reset button, needed a major push. And I think this COVID has given a huge opportunity for to all the businesses, to all the SMEs, to all the micro SMEs, to all the mompreneurs, or the people who want to start their business, because the visits, the footfalls on the platform, everything, and the people who never wanted to experience a smartphone or an app, people have started moving completely to them. And this phenomena is here to stay, because it has driven a habitual. It's a complete habit change now, because people have been consistently doing it for 8-9 months, and now it will stay here for at least few more months. So e-commerce gives everyone a big opportunity because it brings everyone to a certain scale. So I'll give you an example here. Like 5 years back, 10 years back, if you would have asked someone that let's build an FMCG brand and compete with P&Gs and Unilevers of the world, probably everyone would have laughed at you that, okay, they are present at millions of POS stores, millions of stores. But today, imagine brands like Mamaearth, The Momsco, and Wow Life Sciences. They're giving sleepless nights to Unilever. They're actually giving sleepless nights to Unilever. That, okay, if you build a good product, if you build a good really product, and you have a DNA of selling digital, actually you can challenge all these brands. You can challenge all these brands next day. And this phenomena is not only in India. Actually, this phenomena we are witnessing in Middle East also. Like the buying on online is increasing, and lots of new brands, lots and lots of young age people who would have gone to a job, but probably now they see this as an opportunity, that if I'm able to make a good product, if I'm able to basically bring any differential to the existing products, if I can build some excitement around new product, then I should basically just launch a business. So today, going live and selling products on Amazon or Flipkart or First Cry or any other brand is, it's like a few days job. If you have a right product, probably you can be live within the next 7 days. You can actually be live probably before 7 days. So I think it has been a great opportunity. It has been a great learning curve for all the companies, and there are so many success stories which ideally should be shared with the millions and millions of people. Success stories of mamas of the world. That okay, if you can make an exciting world, then internet has actually driven away the complete advantage of a distribution network that these big players used to have. And probably I see that instead of five business controlling the complete retail, there will be 500 smaller businesses which will be surviving and thriving on this space thanks to internet.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree, and I understand that where we are all coming from, and all of this has happened in a there's been this sort of acceleration in this entire digital enablement. I remember I was talking to Ajitji last time, and we talked about the fact that last 2 years we've been pushing small and medium enterprise members of India SME Forum to look at how can you digitize, how can you go online, how can you sell online, and after that, after the second, I think the second week of April, we've had calls from people. Now, we don't know what the hell to do. You were right last year, but we've not got onto it. Can you please help us now? Can you tell us what to do? Because we don't know. So, I go over to the other aspect of this. We talk about constantly that, fulfillment is a major hurdle when it comes to actually reaching the product. You might make the product in Bombay, but if the customer is in Bengal or it's Asansol or some other place in the country, how does it reach him? And I feel that also presents millions of opportunities. And I was sharing with somebody the other day that in terms of logistics, there are very few mammoth companies which are international or MNCs. 99% of these companies are all Indian. They are all Indian owned. They are into logistics. They do the 3PL. They do the transportation. They do all of these services. And Anand here is from delivery. So you had to go through an amazing sort of a situation where everything locked down, and then you were at the brunt of it because you are now dealing with 1 million people who want to utilize your services to deliver their products, especially in a situation where most people feel that fulfillment is the most important part of their business. How fast they can reach the product, how reliable the service is, and there also. So, how have you worked with small medium enterprises in the last 8 or 9 months, Anand?
Thanks, Vinod. So how now over the last 8-9 months, what we've been seeing is there is consistently a growth in the number of small and medium enterprises who are starting their own websites, starting to sell online, who want to ship across India, could be based anywhere. But what COVID has like, I think everybody was talking about the point how COVID sort of accelerated, and I think it has provided a real life experiment which nobody ever thought of. So what happened from our perspective, what we noticed is the acceleration, like you said. So I think on 22nd, when the first sort of the Janta curfew was announced, so we were down from 18,000, delivering in 18,000 pin codes to zero the next day. And then the most interesting part that happened was after that, e-commerce was closed but open for essential items, right? So I think for us, the biggest challenge at that point was identifying what is essential and what is not essential, because we were never geared up for that, right? We were just transporting everything. For us, a dumbbell or a t-shirt or a mobile phone, everything was the same. We were just shipping on for 1 million customers, and suddenly on day 2 of the lockdown, we sort of have to decide, okay, what is essential, what is not essential. Okay, food items are essential, medicines are essential, and we sort of had to go to the drawing board and see, okay, with sellers are giving us product descriptions, so from that We made a list, tried to identify, okay, these are essential, these are non-essential. On the back end, we marked everything, started scanning a million shipments, putting into two bags, whether essential, non-essential, sort of had to store the non-essentials for a month and a half in our warehouses before we actually could start moving them in May. And because I think we could do all this through tech, I think we were operational in day 3 or 4 onwards in 5,000 pin codes, and then soon could expand. So what was very interesting for us is we almost had to do no marketing around that time. Just the fact that we were able to fulfill and do our basic job itself started working as advertising or marketing for us, because we could start doing what we were supposed to do just quickly enough. And I think during this part, then we started, as soon as May came, I think then everything started opening up on e-commerce, and by May already a lot of people had gone through employment crisis. The number of startups, people wanting to start coming online, and shipping had increased. So what I think people realize, that you basically need a fulfillment partner which is reliable, which can sort of respond to the continuously changing challenges, right? Because it's not that after May everything was smooth, because then the country got classified into red, orange, and green zones. So we had to do that classification within our network. We had to tell our sellers that, okay, you can start selling, but in red zones you can only ship essentials. In orange and green you can ship everything. So our system had to communicate back to sellers what they can ship where. Now this has an incredible amount of tech involved, which keeps changing every day. Now this is where I think the differentiation, and people started realizing that these are things that are absolutely needed to function effectively within COVID. And so I think if you ask from perspective of logistics, I think you need to be people, small and medium enterprises need to think in terms of having a very resilient partner and a tech enabled partner, right? uh, who can continuously respond to whatever is changing. I think COVID threw so many changes in such a short span of time that it really tested everyone. So I think, how soon can you respond to the change, so that whatever be the difference, you can just go back and realign your system and start working again. So resilience and tech enablement from a logistics perspective, I think this is what small and medium enterprises should sort of think when they decide, rather than, I mean, these are the two most important things that I feel that SME should keep in mind.
Excellent. So, the other very important thing that I'd like to ask, the other very important thing that I'd like to share with all of our viewers, I think, 1,988 people logged on right now across our various platforms. So, what I wanted to ask is, what exactly is wrong with this current system that we have? We all know that the government has been consistently talking about a new e-commerce policy, also an open e-commerce network wherein they can actually have hyper-local retailers and everybody else also come on board, and multiple things. So what I'd like to discuss now is, what sort of challenges are there? Obviously we know that there are great opportunities that lie beyond this digital enablement or beyond this e-commerce opportunity, and that is true across the world. So I'd like to start with Ajit. He has been a part of quite a few committees wherein they've been also discussing how do you use this entire tech enablement, how do you use this to create employment, and so on and so forth. What I'd like to ask you, Ajit sir, is that what exactly is it that you feel is wrong with our system today, and that needs that could for places which are trying to get digitally enabled.
Okay, let me again test my voice. Is it breaking or clear?
Yes.
Clear,
We
right?
can hear you. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I personally think, having been early on e-commerce in 1995, 97, 25 years ago, I think, let me just say, we've more or less exited e-commerce, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because today, what is called e-commerce is a travesty of justice. What people are doing is taking money at zero interest rates in the US capital markets and selling products below selling price, okay, and incurring losses of the main players in India are losing things like 10,000, 15,000 crores a year. Now, this is upsetting the vast wholesale and retail trade in India, and all of them believe they are being treated unfairly. To an extent, it is true, and government is listening to them because these are. Never forget that SMEs. You guys know this more than MSMEs constitute 55% of the GDP of our country and provide most of the employment. Okay, so there is a lot of worry. At the same time, people on the other side go and whisper into the policymakers' ears that, oh, sir, but we are getting FDI from international, so FDI we should not say no to. If Amazon and Flipkart and you can see the Flipkart is the case in point. Walmart could not get entry into India. They entered through the back door by buying Flipkart. So I know all the persons involved in all of this. So there is required for our whole international economists keep whispering into a government's ear, FDI, 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 like their fathers and grandfathers would say Ram, Ram, Ram to face any problem. So all of them say FDI, FDI, FDI. But the only catch is that FDI is coming in, but the losses they're incurring is used to build market share. So this is in the competition policy in India is about 20 years behind time. So I think what we need to do is make sure that you don't sell product below cost, because that is called, that is unethical behavior. So nobody can compete. So there are some things which are dangerous. On the other hand, there are good things, which is that the spread of payment systems has been a very positive thing, because essentially it allows people to purchase things without carrying tons of cash around, etc. So I think that has been a positive thing. But on the goods and services, on the goods part of e-commerce, we are seeing some very negative behavior. It looks headlines of the newspapers all saying, X is a billionaire and Y is a billionaire. It's all complete bullshit. I think this is becoming billionaires by doing predatory behavior. So we need to do something to curb this kind of e-commerce, which is, I think the two main players are today losing, as I said, tens of thousands of crores. And Walmart has got a backdoor entry into India, which they've been denied for 20 years. So keep this in mind. There are pluses and minuses to the current execution. I hope that answers some part of your question.
Yes, it does. It does, Ajay.
In fact, while you are at that question,
sure.
Yeah.
I would like to also extend this question both to Avnish ji and Prashant ji also. The point that Ajit ji mentioned, how do we bring parity between the online sales and offline sales? How do they see transparency and equality and parity be brought? And what kind of policy changes we can bring about for bringing equality between both online as well as offline sales?
Quickly, we need to fix our competition policy, which, as I told you, is about 20 years behind time. Okay, it's okay. That's a competition policy is just for the industrial era. It cannot deal with it. And we need to educate government that FDI is like chanting Sri Ram, Ram, Ram. It has no other meaning. So I think these are the two things. From the policymaker's point of view.
So
I'm sure this is this is very controversial. I know, because everyone likes headlines. Everyone likes headlines saying $1 billion done, a 35-year-old billionaire from Bangalore. All that bullshit. Really, that's all part of. That is part of. That is part of the. Yeah.
I'd like Avnish also to react to that. When we talked about, what is it that the ecosystem deserves, or we deserve as Indians, in terms of, the policies, in terms of also at the same time access to crop, as well as a conducive environment for running our business.
Yeah, see, I couldn't agree more with what Ajit said, and I think that we were talking about building global businesses, right? And that there is a great opportunity by doing it through the digital or e-commerce route. And Prashant also mentioned, right, that if you make a great product, then you can do it, right? Unfortunately, because of this crazy funding, right, and because of chasing the wrong things, right, like becoming a billionaire or becoming a unicorn or valuation and so on and so forth, I don't think many companies in India are, focusing on the right things, which will make them competitive globally, right? As long as there is money and there is funding, you can keep running this business by selling it at a loss and selling it just to increase your GMV numbers. And then it's like an arms race, right? Till the time you have money, you can keep doing that. But the day the money runs out, the business will possibly have to shut down. And you're also not developing any loyalty for the customer. So you're not also developing the right strengths to build a global business. So I think that a policy, as in I am not familiar with what it will take to bring a change in this, right? Where people kind of build proper businesses and not just VC funded unicorns or whatever we want to call that. And I think unless and until we do that, right, where we really start building, I would say, great companies which make great products and are profitable and can scale in the right way, and only then can they become global or also reach a larger audience in the right way in this country as well. So I am with him completely, however controversial it might sound, but I think he's calling a spade, and it's right. And I think that this is where the government really needs to step in, right? Why did when we talk about the Lehman Brothers crash, right? Because it was not regulated properly and they let the banks get away with whatever they were doing, and it led to that big disaster, right? That we are not at the same scale, but something similar is also happening over here, right? Everybody is doing whatever they feel like, and they are obviously making a lot of money in the process, but we are not really building, capability or great companies or any of those things. And it's not going to be great in the long term, right? Once the money runs out and there will be major unemployment and people are let off and all of those things happen. So I think that, and I don't know what is the other way. I think that the government only needs to step in to moderate this crazy capitalism, to make sure that the right kind of companies with the right models are built. And I think that is really important if you really want to, build big organizations in this country using the e-commerce route.
I have one or two other suggestions, but I'll wait for others and then I will tell you that. Go ahead.
You can talk. You can say it.
Yeah. We would love to hear that. Yeah.
I'll tell you another one, because my heart goes out to the 20, 25-year-olds who are coming out of colleges, and making their life successful is my mission at this stage of my life. Okay. Not to make myself richer. I don't have any such goals. I'm a son and grandson of doctors. I was taught that your life, your profession is to serve people. It is not to maximize your wealth. Please understand that, right? Very. My grandmother was the first batch of Vellore Medical College. You know that? The doctor. But anyway, I think the second thing we need a taxation policy which allows domestic venture capital companies to come up. We don't have any domestic venture capital companies. You have US-based guys. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
We need a domestic venture capital private equity industry, which we don't have. And because that they will look today, if a young 25-year-old goes to a VC, the VC would normally be controlled by a US-based VC. So the first question this kid will be asked is, who are you like in America? And if you don't resemble company in America, you won't get funded. Because the people who come into these VC positions in India are children of rich parents who send their children to America for education, who then join VC companies and come back to India. So they've not even stepped out to buy a cup of tea from a shop in India. So we need a domestic venture capital industry, which means amending the tax laws a little. And since I'm given the privilege to throw in one other point, and then I will step back. The other is, okay, I think the mic is protesting. No, in the United States, the US military funds very early stage companies massively. For example, if you see the PhD thesis of the two founders of Google, at the bottom of the first page, it says, "We thank the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency for having funded this." Now, currently, there's a mega battle going on to build a cloud infrastructure, and the US Defense has stepped in and given, I think, a $35 billion order or something in that order of magnitude to Amazon. That gives them a head start. They'll give another order to Microsoft. So, we need unfortunately, our military officers are arts graduates mostly, So they, with the result, they don't understand technology. I know many of them. I have intense meetings with them. You tried, as I keep telling, I'm a guy who writes computer code 5 hours a day in Python and R, personally. So when I try to explain what is needed, they say, "Ajitji, we believe you. You're a good man," and then they give me a cup of tea and send me off. So they don't understand what is needed. For example, the defense needs to at least fund 5 to 10 Indian companies with 100 to 200 crores each, startups, not TCS and all, startups, to get cloud infrastructure going. But that is the next big movement in this world. If you don't have cloud infrastructure as a country, you will not compete. And everyone is running to put things on Amazon, into Microsoft, etc., etc. So anyway, so that I've said enough controversial things, so I'll step back and listen to my younger friends here. Yeah, okay.
Excellent. So it's Prashant's turn now. So we'll hear from Prashant what he has to say.
So I have a different belief, and so I personally believe that lot of new companies, lot of new sector, that when they are in their nascent stage, when they are probably getting built up, they need a lot of capital, they need a lot of excitement among founders, they need that ecosystem where people come, where people invest. So yes, Amazon and Flipkart became a bad boy in this game, but probably let's see that in 2007, the kind of opportunities that this country had, that the people had, that the small micro SMEs had, that a newcomer coming out of college had, that opportunities have seen a sea change, probably in last 13 to 15 years, because of whatever e-commerce, and who made e-commerce a habit in India, in Indian diaspora. Probably whether you believe it or not, but if you talk to anyone, Flipkart and Amazon had played a very big role in driving that change in how a normal tier 2 or tier 3 customer basically purchases online. And you just basically focus on that one thing, that okay, discounting, which government is trying to control right now, and which probably will get controlled. But imagine the kind of opportunities that we have seen because of this huge e-commerce ecosystem that got built over last decade, and the kind of opportunities. And as I say, I think government is listening. Probably the BIS certifications that are being made mandatory for toys, for baby gears, for footwear, probably we'll see a very huge change in the country, probably next 2 to 3 years, a huge drop in imports, manufacturing sector, a huge fillip will come, more opportunities to create in India, to sell in India, and to sell abroad. It is for sure going to happen, at least in few categories where BIS is being rolled out. So I'm saying that those things are happening, but just blaming e-commerce that okay, it's a very just a discount-driven thing and nothing else. We have to see that the kind of employment, so delivery today is there just because e-commerce became so big. Firstcry is there because e-commerce became so big, and there are thousands and thousands of suppliers that we serve right now, where another 1,000 workers work in all those factories. That is being energized and channelized because of e-commerce. So it's a huge ecosystem that e-commerce helped in basically building in this country, and those discounts helped because those discounts were given to create a huge habit change in 100 crore people. That probably for me I see as a cost of investment being made to basically drive a huge habit change.
Completely agree with you. I mean, I think I can't but actually agree with you on a lot of points there. From a very naive system, we've come today to a point where there is a lot of possibilities that seem to be there in front of us. I've been talking about this again and again. If you look at the total number of exporters registered in India, which are primarily exporting, you find majorly only merchant exporters or very large companies that are doing exports. You have very few people who are in the small medium size who are actually looking at exporting or even are oriented towards exports. But my personal feeling is that after this e-commerce bug, what I find is even small enterprises are looking at competing with international manufacturers. They are getting that exposure. They are looking at the possibility of making products that can sell in the UK, in much developed markets than normally we've all been used to selling to Africa. So almost every product we make sells to Africa. But I'm seeing a sea change in that attitude today, because when we are becoming
I agree. Yeah.
competing
So
with
there
the
are so many brands who approach. There are so many brands who approach us who say that, okay, we have been selling on FirstCry for last 10 years. What will be needed to so that basically we can start selling on FirstCry UAE and FirstCry other Middle East countries. And there is a company which basically makes these smart toys like Smartivity or Skillmatics. And it was a 5-7 people who came out of IIT. The founder was from IT Delhi, like 2014-15 batch. And today, Smartivity and Skillmatics are basically available in 20, 30, 40 countries via Amazon, and Amazon ended up investing because it appeared to be a smarter product. So I'm saying that it has been, as I said, that e-commerce has given an opportunity to anyone who think that they can create a good product. That product can go live in 20 countries within probably months, which otherwise would have taken a complete lifetime.
Thank you, Prashant, for that. I'd like to also bring Anand into the debate. Anand, when we are talking about this ecosystem, you guys were not there at all there. We were, all that we had internationally was UPS and maybe DHL, and maybe then everybody else who was trying to work with Blue Dart or somebody else. And then on the local side, you had an extremely great set of number of unreliable suppliers who could do anything. You were not even sure whether your product would be delivered. So, which was very important primarily unless you have a fulfillment service. We don't have a cold chain across the country. So cold products out of the way completely. Supply chain, when it comes to logistics and all that, few and far in between, very few warehouses, not all of them accessible to everybody. So this entire, logistic chain and putting that in place for fulfillment, and from today and now maybe 3-4 years down the line, how do you see it? How is that going to play out in the country? Apart from, yes, the fact that you can have a million SMEs just get into that space and be part of that supply chain for various people in terms of offering services.
Yeah. So I think logistics sort of will evolve on. So two things. One is there is a need which has to come. So for example, earlier, like I'll just share one trend to sort of explain what I'm trying to say. Now earlier when we were thinking of warehousing, right? Like typically the impression is large companies go for warehouses which are basically housed at some other location. Small companies or SMEs will typically operate warehouses out of their own home or own small office. That is their warehouse. It's not separately a warehouse. It's just their office, which acts as a warehouse, right? Now we're basically what we've started to see is now small and like I think when we talk of resilience, I think we have to really applaud SMEs also, where they're starting to ask themselves, how can we start to compete with the big marketplace players today, right? They might have billions of dollars in funding, but basically, how can we compete? If you order something on Flipkart or Amazon, if it reaches you in a day or two, right? If I am a small entrepreneur, I would also want my product to reach my consumer in a day or two, right? Now, in order to do that, basically what we will have to do is you will have to store closer to the consumer, right? So you'll have to have warehousing in places that are nearer to the consumer. So, for example, think of 4 warehouses near to the 4 metro cities, or the place. So then suddenly the thing changes where you need a warehousing solution for small enterprises, right? Because they will not have the scale of, let's say, a huge player. So a small enterprises, so the problem then arises: how does a small player become as fast to market or as fast to consumer as, let's say, the top player in the country, right? The answer is being closer to the consumer. Now, if that is the need, then people or the industry, logistics industry, will evolve to fulfill that need, right? Because if people ask that, can you help us take up a small 500 square feet place? 2 years back, we were not getting such requests. In 6 months, last 6 months, we've got a number of such requests. So then we are forced to sort of think, okay, how can we make warehousing a sustainable business maybe for small enterprises, right? We can't just say that you'll have a minimum storage requirement of 2000, 5000 square feet, otherwise we can't give you. We have to start thinking how we can give even 200, 500 square feet, how we can cater to smaller people so that they can also have the same advantage in terms of fulfillment. So that is one example where I think the customers or the small medium enterprises have to be start demanding more from their logistics partners, uh, that I want to deliver the same day, I want to deliver the next day. Once this demand starts coming in, I think the logistics industry also, like I'm talking apart from delivery, is also sort of hungry for growth and will come up with solutions to try to cater to that need. I don't know if I could answer that question completely.
Yes, I'm sure you did. I think Vinodji is logged out for some reason. I think he's facing some kind of outage on the network connection. However, I would like to go, Prashant. Prashant, how many MSME suppliers in India you have on FirstCry, and how much more opportunity is possible to expand through FirstCry?
So, Sushma, I think probably the suppliers will be like more than 1,000, because on FirstCry we don't work on we are not a marketplace. We are more of a curated platform which works like we buy an outright and then we try to sell. So there are thousands of people who work with, but the opportunity is immense. We are figuring out. Even so there are like a lot of requests that come from a young mompreneur that, okay, I have built a range for young babies in clothing, in non-clothing. Somebody from Banaras who is saying that, okay, I've built a huge range of wooden toys that we would like to sell on FirstCry. So there are like a lot of small players who are building unique products. We are making it live. So until and unless the product is unique from whatever I have, I can basically onboard thousands of new players. So the opportunity is immense. And I'm saying that apart from FirstCry, I always believed that India Mart, where I spent 4 years, I think it is also a huge opportunity for businesses. And I think the biggest opportunity for businesses I still see is a company like India Mart or Trade India, where you interact with businesses, you do bulk deals. If you are a proactive player who is basically talking to all the inward queries that are coming to you, probably India Mart is also a beautiful platform to drive business. So people should just whenever I talk to people, I just say that you should be excited about digital. That if an SME who is building a product, if they're excited about internet, if they're excited about digital, I think opportunities are immense. It can be Udan.com, it can be India Mart, it can be Trade India, it can be FirstCry, Amazon, Flipkart. All of them are very welcoming till you have good products to sell, and they are more proactive in getting you onboarded vis-a-vis the SME itself is. So I think it's a huge opportunity. The only thing that we need is a good product, is a well-researched product. It's a nice product which will see less breakage, less returns. Till the product is good, I think there are so many good platforms to sell.
Okay, Sushma, can I
Yes.
walk you folks through a 1 minute history lesson, 1 minute maximum? Okay, and starting with a question: What
Yes.
led to the Champaran agitation, which launched Mahatma Gandhi as a leader. Prior to that, he was an unknown barrister in South Africa when he came. And what caused a Champaran agitation, which made him a national leader? This is a quick high school history question. You guys, may I answer it on your behalf? Yeah? No, this is a very important lesson there. You know, in Champaran, British planters were growing. Champaran is in Bihar, if you know where that is. Huh? And the British planters were growing indigo. Okay? And if, the British planters and a few indigo, blue indigo. Huh? Indigo, the blue color. And a few Bengali zamindars also were doing that. Now that was going along nicely, but at around turn of the century, suddenly in Germany, indigo was synthesized by chemical process. So the price of indigo crashed from units of 100 rupees to 1 rupee, 1/100th the price. Okay, now then that destroyed the Champaran plantations, which is a very big employer in Eastern India at that time. Okay, that destroyed them. But Gandhiji leapt to that occasion and led an agitation against the British planters. But the real issue was synthetic chemistry had started in Germany. Now, similarly, one of these days, my prediction is some entrepreneur like Gandhiji, a political entrepreneur, will attack the e-commerce industry, foreign-owned e-commerce industry in India, and destroy it. You watch. My prediction. What is that for a history lesson, guys? Dangerous history lesson. Right?
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson. Because I was about to ask.
Technical change causes immense rift, and if it's done by foreign companies, as foreign companies are dominating the Indian e-commerce scene, if they do that, an entrepreneur will arrive. I promise you, in the next 2 years, they'll come, and then e-commerce will become a bad word. Like in India, synthetic chemistry became a bad word, and we lost so many things. But anyway, I'm 72 years old, and so consequently, I'm entitled to giving you guys history lessons, right? Okay, thanks. Okay.
But well, thanks for that lesson, because I also wanted to ask each one of you. There is one of this question which is posted by one of our viewers, that how is e-commerce going to be revolutionized in coming years by technology and innovation? So revolutionized for good or for bad, or we don't know. But what's your perspective? Let's start with Avnish ji.
So, I'll just talk about the jewelry industry, which is the one industry which I know about. And I was talking earlier, right, that we are the largest manufacturers, right? We make for every brand in the world, right? And then we generally, this business happens through retail outlets largely for the longest time. And now because of COVID, suddenly everybody has digitized. Whether it's most of the big guys have, I think the SMEs and MSMEs still have some way to go before they can also, build omni or e-commerce, whatever you want to call it, that kind of business. And I think that now that everybody can see this opportunity, right, of addressing this large market in India as well as a large market globally, where the earlier barriers of distribution or reach has been broken down. I think that at least in our category, technology should enable both the big players as well as the SMEs and the MSMEs to really, make an effort to build a much bigger global footprint for Indian jewelry across the world, starting with America, which is the biggest market in the world, and then going all the way. So I think we should see a movement from being just manufacturers for other brands to building our brands and to sell directly to consumers, whether it's through Amazon or through other platforms, or building your own website. And the same thing in India, that a large share of the business in India will move to digital models, which will actually be great for the customer, because it will, you'll get better experience, you'll have better designs, you'll have better pricing. And I think that India should have a bigger play in the global marketplace. because of the fact that we already have great products. The other things where we were lacking should now become easier because of technology. So that is what I foresee, and that would be the revolution, at least as far as jewelry is concerned.
Yes, well, thanks. Prashant?
So I think Anand will have a very detailed answer, because I personally feel that most of the innovation will happen in supply chain space. But I personally feel that the biggest revolution that I foresee is lot more businesses, lot more young entrepreneurs joining as manufacturers and as sellers. These platforms, and basically building some very good, amazing, unique products which can become global brands, and which can sell across the world. And second phenomena that I foresee is something which I saw in Indonesia working very well, is their biggest e-commerce player is Tokopedia, where there are like almost 7-8 million sellers who are selling. So a revolution where basically the platform which works very closely with micro SMEs and mompreneurs becoming very big, something like a Misho or something, anything on that sense. So basically a platform which is more Tokopedia and Misho centric, becoming very big in the scheme of things, which can possibly ride on millions and millions of sellers on the e-commerce front. So these are a few things that I can foresee happening, but biggest innovations will happen in supply chain, which I think he will.
Before I come to Anandji, there is one more thing that I want to ask. You talked about creating global brands. It is so difficult while having millions and millions of sellers. How does one create a brand? Like, okay, I mean, you could create a First Reply or a Carrot Lane, and then there is also Wow. You spoke about Wow Sciences and Wow Life Science, and that brand is only on e-commerce, and you don't see it anywhere. Even I didn't know about that brand until some time back. So how do you see a niche or a brand on e-commerce? Prashant, for you.
Okay, so I see what Wow did, and what even few more players have done, and what even Sugar Cosmetics did. So I personally feel that a lot of big brands, they always had a history and legacy, and there was very less product innovation that was happening. There was more of distribution related innovation, more spends on TV, more spends on celebrities. But if you see the Wow range or a Mamaearth range or the Momsco range, the kind of products that they started building around aloe vera products, around red onion products. So it is a product related innovation they ended up launching, and those range were not available with any big FMCG brand. So product innovation, which coupled with a huge social media campaign. So a good innovative social media campaign like Shilpa Shetty getting associated with Mama Earth and all these players. So I personally feel that you don't need to go to ATL day one. A good smart social media campaign coupled with good beautiful products, good products which will have good ratings, and good innovative products which are not available anywhere. Those two things getting coupled can possibly.
Sorry, has we lost Prashant, or is it me who's?
No,
Oh,
I'm there. I'm still
okay. I
there.
couldn't hear you in between. Now I
Yes.
can.
Okay, so I'm just saying that all these products, when there is a product innovation coupled with some marketing innovations which helps the product going viral on social media, like Shilpa Shetty coming as an investor on this
Yes.
Mamaearth and everything. So these two things help you in creating brand, in creating some noise, and then you don't need to think about distribution, because somebody like delivery is taking care of your distribution, somebody like Amazon is taking care of your. Uh, you just need to invest more energy on the product side. So good product plus good social media campaigns can help even any brand to scale up. Can help good brands to scale up.
Anandji, your comments, please. Are you? Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. I think I saw everyone's screen reset. Uh, did you just ask a question, Sushma?
No, I just spoke about your comments on how does somebody create a brand or create a niche, or what kind of opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. So I'll just, it's very close to what Prashant has been talking, but maybe a slightly different lens. I think some of the brands, so these new age brands, I think what they've sort of understood, they know their consumer very well, and they're sort of going after a very crisp problem that they're trying to solve. They're not trying to paint the town red. So, for example, if I'll talk about two brands, maybe Yoga Bars and The Whole Truth, right? Both of these brands are very specific about what they want to do. Their story is very clear. They, like Yoga Bars and all its packaging, it says 92% whole grains, etc., right? Similarly, in Whole Truth, they keep talking about whether how their product has just 5 ingredients and not tons of preservatives and things which a lot of other brands are doing. So what I'm trying to show by these two examples is they know exactly what they're trying to do. They know who is their target consumer. It is very specific. They don't want to just make another biscuit which is a very broad based thing. They want to make, they know that which segment of consumers are going to value this product, which has no additional, which doesn't, is not, is very sort of pure and has very clear set of ingredients, which does not value anything else. So they know their target segment very well. They're very good at storytelling. So they and it's, and the story has to have some basis in truth. It can't just be like just a story. So the story has to have its basis in truth. And if you are able to do this consistently and expand your product line, then I think you've made it like as a brand, because you're trying to solve a very specific problem. You're trying to, who are the people who are having that problem. Probably new age, 25, 20 to 35-year-old people who are trying to be healthy, who are conscious of what they want to eat. If this is your target market, then you have influencers on their packets which you would probably not know. They're not the Virat Kohlis or even the Shilpa Shetty. They're probably, they have a track athlete on their relatively unknown track athlete, probably on their packet, which talks about how they've incorporated the product in their lifestyle. So they're very good at storytelling, very good at identifying what segment of the consumer they're trying to target, and their product is very spot on. So they know what they're trying to do. And most, very interestingly, all of these stories have come from where they've experienced that pain point themselves. All these new age brands stories, one thing I see in common is that the founders have experienced the problem themselves as consumers, and then realized, okay, there is nobody else who is doing this, and then did something to solve that problem. That's a very powerful storyline, and hence the solution and the product is also becomes very powerful when you try to do that, versus when you're just trying to create $1 million business. So I feel, these things really help create a new age brand.
Well, yes. So that brings us towards the end of this webinar, and we would like to have closing remarks from each of our esteemed speaker. If you could kindly talk about what are the opportunities still you find and which exist, and that would help our viewers and entrepreneurs who are watching us and who are waiting to know that what kind of opportunities exist and how they can still go ahead and beat the challenges also that are faced by the e-commerce industry. So if you could shed some light on that, Ajit ji, starting with you.
I think the first step is your organization, SME Forum, should work with government and banks to enable venture capital system in India. You badly need it. It's very fundamental. That will support our young people when they want, and they don't need to run to American and foreign venture capitalists. That is one that we should do. The second is we are introducing Digital knowledge. I was chairing the National Education Policy Subcommittee on education and employment, and one of the things we decided was in class 8 onwards in every school in India, and in 22 languages, we will enable them to learn digital technologies, either HTML coding
Yes.
or understand the belief it, so that young India can grow up becoming digitally aware. These are the two ideas that I'm pushing very hard with government, and wherever policymakers are willing to listen. It will happen in India in 1 or 2 years, but at the moment, this is what I am focusing on.
Yes, I think of late with COVID, kids have started taking classes online. So, in a way, they are actually getting enabled digitally. So, I guess that's one way, and it's on track, to achieve your dream also that you are set out for. Avnish ji, your
Teach them,
comments, please.
one sec, teach them basic programming as well, so they don't get frightened when they grow up. Very basic programming. That is part of the goal that we're pursuing. Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I would just say that Ajit mentioned about the fact that we need more, VCs coming out of India, private equity coming out of India. I think that the one, there is a little bit, while the bigger players, if I again talk about the jewelry industry, have, made the investments in people and process and technology to become digitized, and they are really working on it and they are making that move. There is still a huge way to go for the smaller players, right? The SMEs and the MSMEs. And because, we keep hearing a lot about the challenges that they're facing in doing that. And a lot of it comes, still from a lot of ignorance about it, right? A lot of them still feel it's going to take a lot of money and
Yes.
it's, it needs very high-end, cutting-edge technology. They directly start talking about getting a sales force or something like that. And so that guy is still not really making that move to go and become digitized, which will allow him and open up all the possibilities for that person. So as a body, I think that if there is more awareness, and like literally like a 101 course, like if you like have a 3 month or whatever course for MSMEs and SMEs to really digitize their business, like a step-by-step walkthrough, including recommendation of tools and basic marketing and supply chain and all of those issues which they're not very familiar with. I think that's the part which I'm missing, because I think there are enough people who make great products, and if they are familiarized with the ways
Yes.
to take their business to a larger audience in India or abroad, then I think that they will really flourish under that. Yeah, I think that's the only thing which I would suggest, is something which a body like you can do, and if you need help from somebody like us, we would be happy to do that as well.
That's thank you so much for that. Thank you very much for that. Prashant ji.
So again, building on Avnish's point, that is exactly what I was thinking about. That somebody like you can play a role where these aspiring SMEs can talk to players like the big players, the big e-commerce players, and apart from e-commerce, there are like a lot of other players who can work with them. So a body where we can help them, we can train them on maximizing how to sell on each and every platform, what all opportunities exist. So we need to tell them that, okay, there are a lot of things that are basically told them that, okay, why e-commerce is ruining you. Probably they should be told how you can coexist and how you can incrementally build your business. How can you multiply your business if you work with these players together, and basically see this as a platform to grow together. So I think e-commerce players can't survive without MSMEs. They just need to be told that how to maximize their returns from e-commerce platforms.
Yes, fair. Anand ji, your comments, please. Your closing comments.
Sure, sure. So I think I'll try to give a very 1 minute sort of crash course on why it should not be such a frightening e-commerce, or going digital should not be frightening. Because see, there are just three parts to this. One is you need a channel for selling online. That channel could
Yes.
be a large marketplace like an Amazon or a Flipkart or FirstCry. The second, or it could be your own website. The second is you need to find a way to collect money online. So there, that could be through a payment gateway like a PayU or a Paytm. And the third part is you need fulfillment or a way to ship those goods. So there are just three parts: channel of sale, payments, and then logistics, right? And the good part is today that there are enough enablers in the industry who've made it extremely easy for people to go online. So if you talk about the first part, which is a channel of sale, there are technologies like Shopify, WooCommerce, with very low tech knowledge. You can actually, so making a website on Shopify is like making a PowerPoint. It's almost, so it's very easy to do that. Same thing with then if you go to payments and then logistics, where you basically have plug and play solutions for each of these steps: channel of sale, payment, and then logistics. Those are the only things you need to do. So it's much easier than what I would have, for example, a couple of years back thought that how easy it is to launch an e-commerce business. So it's really, I think, it's probably the best time today than ever to actually go digital.
Well, thank you so much for those comments. I would, in fact, like to take this opportunity to let you all know that Vinodji did mention in the beginning that at India SME Forum, we have started a program with the International Trade Center and UPS Foundation, wherein we train MSMEs in groups of 100. We ask them to apply, and businesses which are near export ready, or are exporters, or who are ready to go online, we actually handhold them, mentor them, and coach them on going on online platforms, on various e-commerce platforms, not just one or two, because there are many businesses which are not only B2C, but they are B2B, and they are very, very, sometimes very niche products also. So it's a kind of a 1 month program where we take them through, we explain to them the entire aspects of creating a digital presence for their company, their products, cataloging, uploading their information on these platforms, and start doing business. We also believe that an enabled e-commerce exporter can reach to at least, if nothing, a minimum 25 countries through the online presence. And I think that will go a big way in creating an Atmanirbhar Bharat. So in fact, I am going to definitely come to Rediff, Try, delivery, to create or participate or be a part of these kind of programs that we conduct, where we could train our MSMEs on getting online, try to get that fear out of them, and at least help them do business, not just domestic, but also be able to export to different countries. So with that, once again, thank you very much. Thanks to all our members, subscribers, and viewers who are viewing us here today, and all our esteemed panelists. Once again, Ajit ji, thank you. Avnish, thanks for sparing your time. Prashant, always a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for joining us. And Anandji, very inspiring. Thank you very much for coming here. Once again, Sushma Morthania saying, signing off, saying bye, and have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.